Every person who comments will be entered, and 2 people will win. So thank you for commenting, and let's get things started, because today we are celebrating the birthday of this man. 92 years old today he would have been, and we have a life to celebrate for sure. Like a lot of you, my schedule and normal routine of life has been completely turned upside down. And it's a weird time, right? This week, I was supposed to be in Pennsylvania. I'm coming to you now from Tennessee, the beautiful state of Tennessee, in West Tennessee, in Henderson, Tennessee. I love it here. But I was supposed to be in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Originally, Mr. Rogers' original neighborhood. It's where he grew up. It's a special community. There's a college there, St. Vincent College. I was going to be speaking to the students there, to the Fred Rogers Scholars. I've been with them before. And then be at the Fred Rogers Center, which is housed there on the campus, which is also home to the Fred Rogers Archives. And I was so looking forward to doing an event there. I had prepared so much fun stuff to share there. And it of course, like everything else and like many things for you, it was canceled. We couldn't gather and I couldn't be there. It was heartbreaking because it was going to be the start of being able to really be in groups to celebrate the release of my upcoming book. And it's not going to happen. The book's still being released, but in the middle of a lot of challenges for people. About a year and a half ago, I got to spend time at the Fred Rogers Center where they let me write the book. I was able to work right next to Fred Rogers' piano and go through the archives and spend some time working on this book. And I was looking forward to celebrating that this week in Pennsylvania, but I'm not there. But I am here this is the book, and here you are. So I didn't want any of this to go to waste. And I also thought maybe this is an invitation to do an even bigger conversation. Maybe this is a chance for us to really invite a lot more people into the conversation. So we're gonna do that today, because I know there's a lot of people right now, maybe you're one of them, who are having to do work from home, connecting to people through screens. You're holding meetings via video. You're having class via video. You're doing learning from a distance. And I want to encourage you, because there's something that Fred Rogers talked about a lot in his own work, because so much of it was him in front of a camera and people watching it far away. And he said so many times, he would say that there is a sacred space between any two people when communication happens. It's a holy ground. And sometimes that space is face to face, and sometimes that space is a person and a phone, a person and an iPad. But somehow the space between two humans communicating is a sacred space. So if you're feeling that distance, I hope you know that there's more that's going on than just you talking to a device. There can be a sacred space between what we do and say to each other. And we really need that right now, because we can't be close to each other, but can we be even closer in that sacred space? Right now, you also hear a lot of Fred's saying, look for the helpers, which is beautiful. And it really helps reframe challenges when something happens in the world. We can say, look for the helpers. Oh, look at them. They're doing the help. But I think that we forget that when Fred said those words, he was actually talking to kids. He was saying, oh, don't worry. When I was a kid, my mom would say, look for the helpers. I don't think his hope was that you and I would just post a meme on Facebook or wherever and say, hey, look, they're helping. Isn't that great? I think because one of the things Fred said over and over too was to transfer your love into active care. to actually be a helper. And today, what I was hoping to talk about at the college and the event that was canceled, but now you're all invited into this, was some words from Fred's final speech. This was one of his final speeches. But so often at the end of his career and life, when he had the chance to speak to people who grew up watching his show in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he would give a challenge, a charge. And I think it holds true to all of us now more than ever. And it was to make goodness attractive. So that's what we're going to talk about and explore. I'd love for you to comment below on how do you want to make goodness attractive? Where are you seeing goodness spread and made and happening? Where can we do that now?
How do we make goodness attractive?
I'm going to try to start some opening credits. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but here, I'm going to push a button. Hello neighbors, we are live together. This is happening. I've invited some special friends to help me celebrate today. Today would have been Fred Rogers' birthday. Today I also would have been in Pennsylvania, but I'm in beautiful Tennessee. And we're having a conversation around something that Fred Rogers said in one of his final speeches. In many of his final speeches, this was the challenge, the charge for us. When he was invited to speak at the Hall of Fame, he was being inducted into the Television Hall of Fame, and he stood up in front of his peers, these people that were also working in media, and here's what he had to say.
Fame is a four-letter word. And like tape or Zoom or face or pain or life or love, what ultimately matters is what we do with it. It doesn't matter what our particular job. We are chosen to help meet the deeper needs of those who watch and listen, day and night. To show and tell what the good in life is all about. But how do we make goodness attractive?
Make goodness attractive. How do we do that? How do we live our lives in such a way that we make goodness visible and possible and invite people into it? I know lots of you are already doing it. And I've asked some people to help us have that conversation. Remember that you can comment and share your ideas of things you've seen. Every comment will be entered at the end. I'm going to be giving away 2 copies of this book today. And I'd love to know. I think we can do this together. We're going to have to. First up, to help us talk about this is a friend, an amazing human. He is a comedian and actor and one of the co-founders of Soul Pancake. How do we make goodness attractive? Rainn Wilson. Oh, I've got to push the button, sorry.
Hey there, it's me, Rainn Wilson. Listen, I was thinking, what is a human being? Certainly we have a dark side. We can be greedy and selfish and egotistical, and that seems to be all we're hearing about on the news these days. But to truly be a human means living in the light, and that means being kind and open-hearted and compassionate and loving to each other, even when we don't feel like it. And Fred Rogers embodied that. When he called upon us to attract people to goodness, I think that's what he meant. It's not some grand, overarching, giant plan. It can be a very simple process. It can be a daily thing. How are we in the world? Can we be a little bit more kind, a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more loving. That's the best way to combat darkness, and that's the best way to attract people to goodness.
Next up, I want you to get to know one of the most creative, inspiring artists. He works with Disney. He also does his own work that anytime something happens in the world that's especially challenging or difficult, he's one of the people I look to. And Nicholas Smith is one of those artist who does make goodness attractive and does invite people into challenging conversations sometimes, but in this beautiful way. And so I wanted to know what this might mean to Nicholas. Like, how do we make goodness attractive? So here's my pal, Nicholas Smith.
What's up, y'all? My name is Nicholas Smith, and I want to show you guys some artwork that I made of one of the coolest people of all time, Mr. Rogers, this guy, and also Officer Clemens, this guy. So Mr. Rogers did something unbelievable and really incredible with his show in the 60s. He had Officer Clemens come on his show and actually get in the pool with him and just roll up his pants and just hang out with the guy. Now let me tell you why this is really cool and really important. In the 1960s, a lot of black people would just be, out in the community, swimming, having a good time. And there would be a lot of really fearful people and racist people who would come and actually put chemicals in the pool. And just out of the blue, just because that they were afraid and fearful and scared and racist and didn't like black people. And so the thing is, Mr. Rogers showed them exactly why this was ridiculous. He brought Officer Clemens on the show and said, "This guy's my brother. He's just like anybody else. He's like me." And he brought him on the show and he said, "I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna have a good time, and I'm gonna show everybody why this guy is no different than this guy. Why we're all the same." And so I think that's kind of what Mr. Rogers was trying to do, is he was trying to show us, even today, if there's any group of people who are being persecuted wrongly, unjustly, he was telling us, use your platform. I mean, he had a big show, he had a platform, a huge platform. Use whatever platform you have and just shout out to the world that this guy, this girl, whoever it is just like me. They are part of the human race, just like me, and they're cool. So, show that. All right.
Thank you, Nicholas. And thank all of you for being part of this today. I've been very sad because it's hard. It's hard to cancel things. You know that. You've all been doing that and changing up your lives, but for the greater good, for all of us. But it's really hard, and so it feels good to be with people today. Thank you for all the nice comments. Thank you for sharing this with people. Keep inviting them into it to join us. This is we've got a whole lot of fun things to explore together. And since I was supposed to be in Pennsylvania this week and to celebrate Fred Rogers' birthday, I thought it might be fun to try to take you to Pennsylvania right now. Would you like to go on a trip with me? Would you like to visit? One of the last times I visited at the Fred Rogers Center, you run into some wonderful people. I ran into Miss Joanne Rogers. Yeah, what an amazing woman. She is truly a bright light. I got to meet her and she spoke very kind words to me. She even booped my nose, which was pretty magical. But there's an incredible team that work at the Fred Rogers Center as they work to continue his work. There's even some things that they're doing now, resources that they're sharing of how Fred's work might apply to us now as working with children, and even creating and developing new things. I'm really blown away and encouraged by the work they're doing there. One of the resources they have right now is how to talk to children about COVID-19. I'm going to try to put the link to that in the comments, but you can visit them on all the social platforms. It's the Fred Rogers Center. One of the people there is Dr. Dana Winters, and she is a remarkable woman who works with Dr. Lee and several others at this project that's called Simple Interactions. Now, I'm super excited to talk to you, for you to get to visit. This is something I worked with her to learn more about her work. Because as I was working on this book, the book that is coming out in the middle of a pandemic, comes out March 31st, not a great time to release a book. I'm really struggling. I was excited to do book tour and be with people. But now I get to be with you, and that's fun. But one of the things I discovered along the journey of this book is I was asking kids how I could be a better grown-up. Because I've just become a dad, I was realizing that I didn't have a lot figured out. How can I be a better grown-up? And so these elementary students were telling me ideas about what they thought it meant to be a good adult. And they were telling me about adults in their lives. And then I interviewed people who've actually grown up, like the elderly, these people over the age of 100 that shared with me wisdom about what they thought it meant to be a good grown-up. And the thing that I saw in every single classroom, in every single state, in every place I went, I had this idea that it was going to be giant things that we do that make us great grown-ups. But research, science itself tells us that it's actually the little things we do over time that impact our development, that help children, that help the people around us. Some of the biggest, most important things you will do today will be the smallest. It will be looking a child in the eyes and letting them know they matter. It'll be tying their shoes daily over time, letting them know they have value over time, having meals together like all of these things are what actually help us grow. And so they've been documenting simple interactions. And here, let's go right now to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, to see my visit with Dr. Dana Winters. And I've got to push the button again, sorry. When I hear Fred's homework of make goodness attractive, and maybe some of you do this too, I immediately think, like, let's go big. Let's get hot air balloons and inflatable bouncy houses and throw a parade. And that's fine and good, but that's not what it takes.
Not always. So in our work, we highlight the good that's happening in communities all around the world. And we do this in small ways. So the smallest moments can be really impactful for spreading goodness. And we found that.
It's so powerful to watch, but you did a project with crossing guards. So talk a little bit about it.
We did. So the crossing guards in the city of Pittsburgh do not report to school systems. They report to the Bureau of Police. So they are given their gloves and their stop signs, they're taught the proper hand signals, and their outcomes are measured in pedestrian accidents.
Yeah, safety. Did anybody get hurt? Everybody's okay.
Right, kids are not getting hit by cars, we have success. And that's all they're trained to do, is to successfully cross kids from corner to corner.
Wow.
But that's not all they do. And they've taken it upon themselves to do so much more for their communities. When I was able to interact with them and watch what they do, I was amazed at the goodness that they spread in 5 to 10 seconds in just sharing a good morning. I hope you have a good day. It was truly beautiful to watch what they've done in these communities, taking it upon themselves.
Tell me about this. This is Miss Paula?
This is Miss Paula.
Okay.
So Miss Paula's been a crossing guard for about a decade in this community. She lives in this community, and you can see she does far more than just successfully cross children across the street.
You got a jacket, huh? He said, I am.
She could have just had them go across, but she's interacting, she's giving compliments.
She is. She's noticing things about them, right down to the color on their nails.
Wow. I know. Wow. She looks just like you. That's your twin right there. Oh my.
This was a part of a project where we took these films and showed them back to the crossing guards to show them the power of what they do.
Have a blessed day. You're welcome, baby. Good morning.
Right.
Good morning. So, when are you going to know about the election? When you going to know if you won or not?
Okay.
Oh, huh. I got my fingers crossed for you. Even though I didn't get a cupcake, but I got my fingers crossed.
There are so many moments like this that they may not even notice as important, but they really are. And I had one young man come to me, because when you're filming on a street corner, you attract attention.
Right.
And so the kids would cross the
What are you
street
doing?
and then come right back to
Making
me.
a movie?
Yeah,
What
what are
is
you
this?
doing? Why are you here? So I had a group of about 4 or 5 guys around me, and I said, well, I'm filming Miss Paula to see what she does in her job. What do you think of Miss Paula? And this one boy said, she wasn't here last week and I didn't know what to do. And I said, really? How old are you? And he said, oh, I'm 14. I said, so you don't know how to cross a street? And he said, no, it wasn't that. She wasn't there to say good morning.
There.
And it made his day just a half turn off because he didn't have Miss Paula there.
Because she wasn't there. So I wonder what it's like for you then to show her, because you do this in lots of circumstances where there's people, whether they're caregivers for a child in some different setting, or, as you do that and you show them themselves and you say, actually, you're doing really important work, what's their response? I would imagine it's...
Sometimes it's really emotional for them. I've been told that it's like getting a giant group hug to be affirmed that way. But also the number one thing we hear is, wow, I don't even remember that moment. That these are things that are happening all the time, that if we shine light on how important they are, think what we can do in being intentional to create those moments. If they're just happening intuitively, what happens if we put a little intention behind it and we all think about how we can share that?
So I think that was so powerful to me and so encouraging to me to learn as someone who wants to work creating things for kids, but also just as a dad, that the most powerful things we can do are these simple interactions. So that's going to be something that we can all be thoughtful about in the coming days, weeks, months together. How can we, in little moments, create big impact by just being thoughtful in our simple interactions? I'm grateful for all the crossing guards, teachers, doctors, nurses, people who work in retail, people who write, people who show up in any number of ways. You are making a difference. There's another voice that I look to often for encouragement and insight, and I'm really excited to have her as part of this conversation on how we make goodness attractive. And to help us talk about that is someone I respect so very much. I listen to the On Being podcasts often. In fact, I was once at an event, I was listening to it on the plane. I get off the plane and I heard her voice and I thought I was hearing things, but it was actually her. And she is as insightful in person, as warm and kind and intelligent as you would imagine. Let's go to On Being Studios, where the wonderful Krista Tippett is there.
I have thought so much across the years about the challenge that Fred Rogers was pointing at to make goodness as riveting as evil. And I think that one of the paradoxical things about this moment we inhabit and the technologies we've inherited and the technologies that we are grappling with and seeking to grow up is that for all that they have created this new canvas for the dysfunctional and destructive story of our time, the opposite of the good. They also create ways to amplify what is happening close to the ground, where people are creating the realities we want to inhabit. The good people, the generative people and projects and initiatives of our world. And so I'm ultimately hopeful that we are becoming more creative and creating more capacity to make goodness more riveting, to make goodness more visible, to understand that this too is the story of our time. This too is what we're capable of. I'm so grateful for his foresight. And I like to think I am going to exercise my muscle of hope to think that we can in fact rise to that longing that he expressed for us, which is a longing I think more and more and more of us share.
And together we can turn the whole world upside down. Love our neighbors, spread a little kindness all over town. Find the good in your heart. All we need is just one spark. And together we can turn the whole world upside down. Find the good in your heart. All we need is just one spark. And together we can turn the whole world upside down.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Captain. Loud and clear.
Copy that.
I'm working on something where I'm going to be sharing stories of people, lots of different ages, who are doing things to help people. I'd like to share a story about you, if I could.
Yeah. So we were trying to get socks for the homeless, so that way they wouldn't just be like freezing cold all the time. That's why.
Yeah. One of the clips, you filmed yourself without socks or with socks, which they were getting wet.
Oh, my socks are wet.
I mean, what'd that feel like?
Squishy. Can you send socks or money for socks? I'll go shopping for socks. Come on, please help.
It was a very simple thing you're asking them for, right? Like, what were the simple things that you're asking for?
Socks.
How many did you think you might get?
Well, my goal was 100.
Your goal was 100. That's good. That's a pretty
And
good
after I got 100, it was 200. And then I wasn't going to go any higher, but then I got 646.
How many?
646.
That's a lot of socks.
Yeah.
It looked like you were swimming in the socks. You're laid back and they're falling on you. What would you say to any people who might be watching this, who might be afraid to start something like you did?
Dreams can come possible.
Dreams can become possible. And what did that feel like?
Well, it felt good because I think people want to help, but they just don't know how.
That's a really smart answer. Because you're right. I mean, I think that people want to help out. They don't always know that they can. And I think that's part of the magic of what you got to be part of. It was fun to get to talk to you, man.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd want to say? Anything else you want to say to all the people in the world?
Just be yourself and be awesome.
Be yourself. Be awesome. You make the world more awesome just by being you, man. For sure.
Yeah, you too.
We high five.
Have you ever felt a heart beep before? A heartbeat is a powerful and special feeling your heart gives you when you see something in the world that changes your thinking forever. I see heartbeeps as an opportunity to see humanity. Humanity is paying attention to people, discovering new things about them, and realizing how important everyone is to this world helps us see humanity. And when we see humanity, we are doing exactly what Mr. Rogers wants. We are spreading more good in this world. And I think that heartbeeps are helping us see how important we are to this universe.
Hey, this is Chris from Special Books by Special Kids, and one of my biggest role models is Mr. Rogers. I especially love his philosophies around making goodness attractive. Today we live in a world of constant media consumption. Now more than ever, our children need to see that being kind towards others is something that can take you far in life. So thank you, Fred, for laying down that philosophy years ago, and I'm excited to be one of the many people carrying it forward.
We still have so many people who are watching and checking in. Thank you for all the comments. You just heard from Chris at Special Books with Special Kids. If you don't know his work, I encourage you to please go seek it out. What he does for and with and alongside children is really remarkable. He celebrates them, spotlights them, encourages them, and invites us all into greater empathy. His expansive heart is just really special. So honored to have you part of this. I feel like what he does is such a connection to the work that Fred Rogers did. I very encouraged and inspired by his work. And so many of the comments. There have been some really great stories of what people are sharing and what you're letting me know how you're seeing goodness made attractive in Fred's words. I always marveled at the way that you saw this in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with the show, where it was you could tell he's very thoughtful about what he's saying there, but it's even remarkable in how he would speak when speaking to adults. When speaking to anyone, he was very thoughtful about his language. If you read the original Esquire article that was written about Fred Rogers, that was highlighted by Tom Junod, that he did, one of the things he mentions in there is a story about Fred Rogers being asked to write the introduction to a book for ophthalmologists. And I was fascinated by that. I thought, like, this is incredible. What would Mr. Rogers say to eye doctors? And I actually found this book. It's Dwayne's Ophthalmology. He wrote the first chapter. I got asked to speak at an event for doctors. This beautiful team called the Experience Lab. They serve people who are healthcare professionals. And they asked me to come speak to them. And I'm thinking, what in the world do I say to them? So I thought, well, what would Fred Rogers say? And I found this book. And what his message was, it begins with just a few words. Remember, you were a child once too. Just remember, you used to be a kid too. Like, he knew they have all of this medical expertise. They have all of these skills. They know all the complexity of the human anatomy. But if you really want to be a good surgeon, remember, you were a child. You used to be a child. If you want to be a good mom, dad, brother, uncle, person, human, remember, you were a child once too. So I shared those words. And one of the last times I was able to speak at the Fred Rogers Center, where I was supposed to be today, one of the things that I said, I told this story of Fred's words to ophthalmologists, and then that I got to share those words to a team of doctors. And then a woman came up to me afterwards. She introduced herself and she said, "Where did you find that book?" And I was like, well, eBay, it's just Dwayne's Ophthalmology. She's like, I know, but where did you find it? So this woman was head of Sheraton. She worked at Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. She worked alongside Fred for many years, from the very beginning and then on, and continues to do work for young people and families. And Miss Hedda tells me a story. She said that she was the person who did the original research for that introduction to that book. And she wrote out all the things, things he could say that were research-based, and that this would be things that he talked about before. And she thought, this is going to be a great chapter. And Fred scratched through all of it. And he then wrote those words that stuck out. Remember, you were a child once too. And expanded on that. And she said that was a moment where she realized the beauty of a relationship in which we help each other grow. She said he would do that a lot, not in a malicious way of scratching through. She said he hated when she would say something like, "You edited me," because he didn't see himself as an editor. then she said, well, he liked the word elevate. So she would say, you elevated it. And so he then would laugh about that and referred to himself as her elevator operator. And so then in his notes, any other time they were writing things back and forth, they would each scratch through and put ding, ding, elevator up, your EO, your elevator operator. And they would pass that back and forth, just elevating each other's work. Elevator operators. I thought that was beautiful. This idea that we can elevate each other, not edit each other, but elevate one another. That's actually a theme throughout the book that I've found, and what it means to be a great adult. It's people who are lifting up others, people who lift each other up, who fly themselves, but then help others fly. And I had this great moment in the archives where I asked if they could find the speech, the Hall of Fame speech, and we found it. And I'd like to show you what it looked like in Fred's own handwriting and how he was trying to elevate the work so that he could say the most thoughtful thing, so that he could fly and help everyone who hears it fly.
But how do we make goodness attractive? By doing whatever we can to bring courage to those whose lives move near our own.
We're here in the archives of the Fred Rogers Center, and the speech we just heard, you have Fred's first draft.
So this is a box of lots of Fred's speeches, and our archivist just showed us this. So this is the first draft of the Television Hall of Fame speech. So this is in '99 when Fred was inducted into the Television Hall of Fame. And this was when he gave that speech that we heard about making goodness attractive. But one of the things I always loved looking at is how he goes through drafts. He would go through many drafts, even if the speech was just a couple minutes.
Looking at this, you can see there's so many elements that he didn't end up sharing.
And what's always struck me as amazing is how much he edits himself.
Look at the scratches.
Exactly. And invariably, I think the kind of things he scratches out often kind of, I think to him, wasn't good enough, right? That it wasn't drawing people to goodness. Here he scratches them out and writes real goodness right then and there. But his message over time, over the drafts, we've often seen it get simpler and simpler and gets more empowering as it goes.
There's not only an economy of words, at the end there's a hopeful spirit that he wants to leave them with.
That's right. Right. So this was right before he retired from television production in 2001, and by then he wasn't making as many speeches and so on. But I think this particular speech was important because he was speaking to his peers.
That's why part of why this speech has been so interesting to me is I work in children's media, and I had it on my wall, make goodness attractive, because that speech meant so much that it felt like a call to action.
How do we make goodness attractive?
When I hear make goodness attractive, I think about making something that has meaning, that other people notice and that other people see and feel drawn to. And a lot of times we are often bombarded with the negative things that are happening all around us. And it can be really difficult to see where goodness comes in, where the light pours in. So I think any opportunity that we take to be a good person, to shine a light in someone else's life, can have an impact that goes beyond what we think is possible, even in the most subtle ways when it comes to people that we see every day. When we make that choice to continue to be good and to do good, it really does make a difference.
Hey everybody, my name is Scott Harrison and I lead an organization called Charity Water. which helps people around the world get clean water to drink. And I love this idea of making goodness attractive. You know, I have spent more than 10 years trying to tell stories of people who need help to other people who can give help. And we ask people to share what they have with others. And it's crazy to think that 1 out of every 10 people alive doesn't even have clean water to drink. But as we tell that story, we see so many children, even so many adults come together and give a little bit of money or give a little bit of time to help others. And I think it's an amazing thing to wake up every day and say, hey, how can I improve other people's lives? How can I use what I've been given to end some of the suffering, to end some of the pain that I might see around me? So we're so excited to be a part of this project, Make Goodness Attractive.
For me, I think it's just anytime I am around goodness or positivity, I leave wanting to do the same, and sort of like I feel like moods and actions are contagious. So I love anytime I am around that, and I would love to like promote that in any way that I can. So I think Mr. Rogers had it completely correct in that it's catching, and I think our world definitely needs more of that.
Oh, well, here we are. Thank you so much for being part of this. I hope you will continue to share it. I think this is going to continue to be available if I can pull it off. I'm going to be sharing some more things in the coming weeks around the release of the book. Be inviting you into helping spread the Society for Better Grown-Ups. There's a lot of fun I think we can have, but I needed this. I needed this time with you today. This is our world. I didn't draw it to scale, but that's the world. And on that planet, there's 7.4 billion humans. 1.8 billion of them are younger than 15. 90 million dogs, give or take. There's something like 770 million cupcakes in the world. In the next 10 seconds, 255 babies will be born. And there's you. There's a whole lot happening in the world, but there's also you. Can we together make goodness attractive? Can we live lives in such big, bold, colorful ways, in small ways, in beautiful ways that invites everybody to see what we are capable of? We're seeing it already as we're reminded of just how connected we all are to each other, how much we matter and belong to each other. One of the great joys I had in developing the book is we had this prompt that I shared with people that was, I am blank because you were blank. Essentially, I am who I am now because you were this way for me. And so there were people who did this who were professionals, who were older. There's people who did this that were children, actually like school-age kids, because there's always somebody younger than them looking at them. There were people, entire college campuses doing it. There was even one professor at a college who he saw everybody else filling out their I am this because you were this, and he's thinking, I know exactly who made me who I am. There was this teacher, and it was in elementary school, and she saw me, and she actually helped me realize I had a learning disability. She helped read to me, helped me know who I was. She even said words to him near the end of his time in her class. She said, you would be great to work in media. That's exactly what he did. And so he actually realized he had never told her. He got in a car, he loaded up his grandkids and drove miles and miles to go be with her, see her, and let her know, I am who I am today because of who you were for me yesterday. And they sat in the library where she volunteered now. And in the same way she read to him when he was a kid, she pulled a book off the shelves and read to his grandkids. And it all come full circle. In that speech, one of the things that Fred Rogers did is he asked everybody to pause and think for just a few seconds of who loved them into being. people who helped them be who they are. Let's take a moment.
Who in your life has been such a servant to you? Who has helped you love the good that grows within you? Let's just take 10 seconds to think of some of those people who have loved us and wanted what was best for us in life. Those who have encouraged us to become who we are tonight. Just 10 seconds of silence. I'll watch the time. No matter where they are, either here or in heaven, imagine how pleased those people must be to know that you thought of them right now.
Thanks for being part of this. I am better because of who you are. There's something I often close in classroom visits when I would visit with kids. I would let them know that I wasn't just a writer or director of things. I actually also ran a school for wizards. And it's kind of secret, but you know, I could let them know because we're friends. And I want to close with this for you and me today. Don't hide your magic. Please share your gift. Seeing you shine gives the whole world a lift. It's okay for wizards to be quiet or shy, but hiding your magic is a crime, and here's why. The world needs to dazzle. We need what you've got. You might think that you're nothing, and really, you're not. You're more, much more, and it's time to be seen. You're more loved than you can imagine, more powerful than you can dream. So if you feel less than, or that you don't count, or maybe your soul is all flooded with doubt, remember the magic. You are equipped, you're prepared. And never forget, magic is meant to be shared. Don't hide your magic. Thank you, everybody.